What do I think of Manosphere? What, the Louis Theroux documentary? Well, I think it's very good that he made that. I think it's very interesting that they're mainstreaming that argument, because you go, well, those guys are talking to young men. I don't like what they're saying to young men, but I like the fact that they're talking to young men. You have to respect there is some, the intent there, the content's terrible, but the intent of talking to young men that are lost is valuable. But we just need better voices talking to young men. We can't marginalize them. Well, I think there's a lot of talk about toxic masculinity, and no one talks about the positives. You could be a king, or you could be a tyrant. You could be a warrior, or you could be a sadist. You could be an agent of magical transformation, or you could be a manipulator. You could be a lover, or you could be an addict. There's a positive side to masculinity, and we're not talking about that. We need to empower young men. I'm pro-gang, pro-drinking, pro-gambling. Let me talk you round. Okay, let me talk you around. Okay, it sounds like, okay, gangs are really fucking good ideas. They get some bad press because some of them do shoot people and deal drugs. But what I mean by a gang is, where should all men be? I'll tell you, all men should be with other men. Men check other men. Guys keep other guys in line. Right? It's good. You should be, like, before, we want young men and women to get together, right? We want them to get together. Well, you can't start with a relationship. You've got to start with a friendship. Young men, you can practice on your friends, it's not gay. Drinking. I think drinking is essential because the risk to your liver is as nothing compared to the risk of social isolation. I've set up, well, that's Scott Galloway, brilliant Scott Galloway's line. I've set up a series of youth clubs all around the nation. They've got pool tables, they've got darts, they've got jukeboxes, they serve drinks. They're called pubs. They've been proven to work for men's mental health for the last 200 years. And I think we should open the doors to 16-year-olds. I think we should let 16-year-olds drink in pubs. My only proviso is not on their own. I think groups of 4. You should be able to be served if you can get 3 mates together, and then men check other men. I don't want them sat at home on their PlayStation. I don't want them drinking in the park. I want them with other men in a space where there's grown-ups around, and that's how you learn. That's what a society is. It's a good idea. And gambling, I'm very pro-gambling, but not this low-stakes bullshit, sports betting and casinos. Tell me what you want to do with your life. Tell me what you're willing to sacrifice, and then bet your life on yourself. That's a gamble, right? Every man takes a performance-enhancing drug every day. It's called testosterone, right? There's more male CEOs. Yeah, of course there is. There's also more men in prison. What do they have in common? They took a crazy fucking risk. Sometimes you end up on a yacht, sometimes in D-Wing. Anyway, that's what I think about the manosphere.
Very interesting conversation because, once again, they're focusing on the manosphere, which is only a reaction to the problem. It's not the problem itself. What created the environment for the manosphere to exist? He doesn't want to focus on that. And then he wants to pretend like the issue is only with the young men and men in general. What about the issues that we have with women? He doesn't want to address that. We have a system in place that has created an environment, basically, that's absolutely toxic. We start with a bunch of misandry. We have women out here that have been indoctrinated into a culture, a society that has basically marginalized, disrespected, and treated men like trash systematically. You have the family court system, the divorce laws, things like that are unfair, biased. Basically, it's gynocentrism. That's the problem that exists right now in the world. And if even we deal with all these challenges that you're talking about, what about the unfair legal system that exists? We've spent the latter part of 80 years beating down and bashing masculinity, promoting femininity in men, basically defining manhood and masculinity as some type of toxic, evil patriarchy, where we've created an army of misandrous women through these college campuses, through the legal system. We've put in laws we put in place all these laws, and have all these cultural norms of believe all women. So we've turned the society and the system in a complete gynocracy. And from feminism, we've promoted sexual liberation. We've promoted women getting out here and exploring themselves, focus on their career, focus on their life, become strong and independent. You don't need no man. Again, we've created an environment of misandry. And the men, most of them, especially young men, are just reacting to an environment that is systematically created. So we focus on, well, the manosphere, these monsters and these horrible. I'm not a member of the manosphere. Trust me. You look at there are bad actors. I have an independent men's channel. But at the end of the day, what it sounds like mostly is desperation for votes. Really. They want masculinity on their terms, where they control. Really, they just want you voting for Democrats. That's what you want. You want men to be these, they always talk about, use that character from the Lord of the Rings, Aragorn, as this positive masculinity. Masculinity that only benefits society and the feminine. They really don't care about the men. They're just like, you guys are not out here marrying these women. Well, you ever asked the question, are any of these women worthy of marriage? The question is, there's no qualifiers for the women. And it assumes that the only problem that exists is with young men. Not that these women, aren't having issues too. We have a bunch of loser, failing, bum women. You good women out here who do right thing. I'm not talking about you. Have you ever considered that there's men that have daughters that are just bums and lazy and have not performed well? Imagine a system in place that exists in the West, in the culture, where you basically bash men on the knees with a sledgehammer, the young men, to promote and empower women on the backs of men through taxes, to programs, to all kinds of government systems and whatever that are in place. And you've basically punched down on men to empower and uplift women. Correct. Many men have daughters and they understand this system. Oh, you've advantaged women in the family court system, in the environment, at the job. I mean, how quick is it to send a man to HR? And we created this system of believe all women, where women have no fault. And this whole focus is basically, what are the men failing at? Why don't the men do the crowd? Well, the manosphere. At the end of the day, the conversation is about money and childbirth. And populations are declining globally. Men are not out here wiping up these women that have been viciously pounded out through sexual liberation, that are focused on their career, that have postponed marriage and family. That's not a priority for them anymore. We've inflated this society. Even women, if they wanted to, or men, some men can, women can't afford, or the young people can't afford to buy houses and start families and things of that nature. Again, it's just a distraction. When I look at the manosphere, what I see is a reaction. I don't see the problem. The problem is that why don't you just treat men with kindness and respect and stop treating them like they're some type of disease or virus that needs to be fixed? How about treating boys with kindness and respect when they're young? How about trying to treat them like they're not some type of disposable tampons? And they're not being good boys, good slaves to serve the masters of capitalism, to go vote for your liberal politics, to go wife up these 304s and retired 304s that have been maxed out with sexual liberation, and now they're in the church and they're out here shaming men. They don't like the manosphere, not because there's some characters in the manosphere I don't much care for either. But at the end of the day, the reality is it's stopping the flow of capital. It's stopping the flow of childbirth. The boys are sitting they're working, doing what's necessary, minimum things to survive as a man. And then they go to their basements and play video games and do whatever. Is it good? My opinion, probably not. But it's their life to live. See, they want you to be a servant for the system, disposable tampon. Not that when I talk about manhood and masculinity, I talk about men being better for themselves. Not better to serve the machine, to serve this machine of capitalism, to be a slave for you. I talk about men getting money and investing and doing things to buy themselves the freedom. I talk about men self-preservation, taking care of their health, being in love with your own company, and being able to deal with a world that is completely toxic in many instances towards men today. Again, it's about male mental health and men's self-esteem. That's the focus on this channel. Not about any type of hatred or dislike for women or anything of that nature, but we have to develop masculinity separate from women. But at the end of the rainbow, just say we listened to what you're saying, and we did everything, and young men did everything, became these better, all these marriageable bachelors out here. At the end of the rainbow, what are they going to marry? Some burnt out, heavily liberally indoctrinated feminists. Not all women. I have to give credit. I know my guys are going to say, well, don't even give credit to the 10% women out there that are actually worthy of good quality men to be in their life. But they assume that women, just for the fact that they're born women, they're just qualified for marriage, qualified to receive the benefits of manhood and masculinity. And after all, the women themselves, feminism themselves, have destroyed the old social contract where, there was exchange between men and women, equal exchange in the terms of the value system for what created families. That social contract is gone. Now what you want men to be is responsibility without authority, which is absolute slavery. You want them to get married to some egalitarian, woke, liberal-minded women with a strong and independent mindset, and then you want him to stick to the 1930s where he's financially responsible for the house and everything else like that. He's just going to overlook the fact that he's guy number 35 or guy number 45, and then he's going to marry her. So you basically want men marrying these ran through women that have enjoyed feminism and sexual liberation. Some of them have aged out in terms of in other cultures they would be considered xingyu or leftover women. And that's supposed to be a prize because you don't hold them accountable. Again, men have 20 times more testosterone than women, period. I mean, we have a natural sex drive and whatever else. Women were basically born at the top of the mountain in a gynocentric environment like America in the West. So it's really their job to manage or mismanage that. Again, we've done all these programs. We've empowered women. We've created DEI. Everything has been created to advantage women over these young men. We've created an environment with the educational system in schools where we've put a bunch of liberal-minded teachers in there, mostly feminist females. We basically neutered the boys to give advantages to girls. Cut their lunch break down to 15, 30 minutes. Don't let them run around. Try and, sit them down like they're little girls, and if they misbehave, we're going to put them on Ritalin. They don't get to do the trades and learn a certain way that men learn. So we've basically, sabotage the boys in this culture in many instances. But many instances, and that's really a sick and sad thing because they keep focusing on this manosphere nonsense. What happens is that they do that so they don't have to focus on the women. Are women the women you have that are qualified to receive the men they want? And my answer is no. And you assume that because they have degrees and education and make money, that qualifies you as a great man. Hopefully you can find a wife. Now, that's why I say women and men are looking for the same woman. And they just have an idea that, you're going to be this woman in a man's body. It's emotional intelligence instead of emotional discipline we talked about on this channel. Men are supposed to have emotional discipline. Emotional intelligence is for women. Learning and understanding your nature and being able to control your nature. And that's the fundamental flaw of this whole argument and why everybody's just going to laugh in your face because they know it's about votes. It's about men being useful to, I'm not a Democrat or Republican, to the Democratic Party. Because you cannot win an election when these young Gen Z men are turning more conservative. They're not turning more conservative. They're becoming more aware of their old simp fathers and jellyback uncles and grandfathers, especially boomer simp, that are bitch-led men. And they realize that these guys have basically had their balls clipped by women, put in a jar, hidden in the pantry behind the peas and rice, and they have no spine. Happy wife, happy life. and they've bought into and submitted to the system. They've submitted to their wives, especially the Christian cucks. And I mean and worse is these closeted, covert feminists on the conservative side. And I'd rather almost, in an instance, deal with the purple-haired feminists that are rattling off men's misandry out of her mouth. At least you know where she stands. She's not pretending to be some type of good quality woman and hiding who she is. She's just like, you guys suck because you're part of an evil patriarchy of men. But they're never going to treat men with some respect and kindness, because to say that would have to admit that there's flaws in women, especially those who are posting things about men should be born in jail and earn their way out. Men are useless. The hatred of men, the misandry that's been indoctrinated into their system, this thing about this evil patriarchy and trying to make men this version of this feminine, egalitarian version of themselves. So they want the masculinity because it's valuable, it produces money, it produces kids, but they want it on their terms, under their control, modified to benefit them. Good old disposable tampons, dudes that are ready to jump on the grenade to save society. But the idea of holding women to any traditional standard, that will crush them, because they'll lose votes, they'll lose the support of women. It's like an old dirty pastor that only preaches the gospel of what men's supposed to be doing. Just like these panda bears, just like everything else. Keeping the focus on men and not understanding that women are also failing. And that's the fundamental that Scott Galloway and all these agents of the system don't understand. Equally, women are failing. Not because of their degrees. These basket weaving degrees don't make money. And you're going to get a master's degree in liberal arts or something else, you're going to be working the aisles of JCPenney. Nothing wrong with JCPenney. So look to the hardworking people out there. But they make it seem like that's a symbol of an artificial status. Well, a guy who's got this certification as a plumber is making, I don't know how many times more money than you are. And that guy is living a good life. He has a trade, he has a skill, he has something that's marketable, that's valuable. And you're not any smarter or any better or any whatever. You just have a thing in your mind that makes you think, oh, these degrees. Half of these, you can basically eliminate maybe 80% of these degrees on these college campuses, because most of them is absolutely useless. And it's a system designed to get people in debt, women in debt especially, and exploit the crap out of them. Half of this stuff is nonsense. The degrees I see them post on there are absolute trash. Trust me, I have degrees over there on the wall. I don't even use them. Because most of those degrees, I'm not even going to go down that portal. You know why? Because it's a ridiculous conversation in terms of what they're trying to get men to do. You always want men to be better, but the women also have to be better to receive those men. Are they better? And that's the question I want to ask. If men follow the plan of excellence, what is the counterpart doing? Huh? He's supposed to work harder, become a great man, so he can get with one of these liberal-minded, brainwashed plantation women who have this system of male hatred implanted in their soul. Anything that has to do with being kind, taking care of those who take care of you, is seen as slavery and oppression. The idea of cooking a meal for a man is abuse or something like that. I mean, if I'm cooking a pot and I need to make some extra eggs for somebody else, what difference does it damn make? You take care of people who take care of you. When does cooking become abuse? When does you want men to be held to these traditional standards and traditional expectation, where the women can just be rogue and free and whatever else? Well, you want really good slaves. Let's be honest. You want good slaves. You want babies. You want more men to vote for liberal policies, and you want these egalitarian jellyback men. The conservative side wants cucks. They want men to get with these women that have enjoyed sexual liberation. They found Jesus, repented of their sins, and you can be guy number 45 because you take care of these single moms or these women that have been prior enjoying sexual liberation, or these strong and independent feminist women, And and Jesus is supposed to fix all of that. You're supposed to get with her. That's a good woman. Yeah, she used to be on OnlyFans. Maybe she sold a little bit of punani. Maybe she was a ball-busting feminist, but she's found Jesus today. And even though you're a guy number 45, 50, or maybe 100, that's a good woman, boy. You know what's good for you. You get with that woman. And that's what you want the men to get? You're crazy. Bump your head. These young men are not stupid. They know what's going on. And none of you are talking about changing the laws, the marriage, the family court. Even if they did everything, you still got jacked up laws that are never going to change. You're not going to change this system of misandry. The women are too powerful with the votes. Voting is going to be the ultimate thing, whereas they're going to vote a certain way and you cannot offend them. So it's easier to kick men in the back. Demand that men be better. Demand that evil manosphere guys stop polluting the minds of these young men. You made the manosphere. You people made the manosphere by the disrespect you've shown men, by creating the gynocentrism has created the manosphere. Male hatred, a system where some of these jellyback, simp, spineless men who have joined with women into the male bashing fair or just breaking men down and coming at men. All you're doing is creating an environment where the men men are not stupid. They can figure out that you're full of crap. They know what you're trying to do. You're just mad or you're just frustrated or want more population, and you want men to be good old boys and marry up 304s or whatever else, and go ahead and create these families and have babies and whatever else, and submit to their wives and be these good old-fashioned providers and providing a lifestyle, be traditional to a woman that's non-traditional on her terms. This modified form of masculinity that you want to create, just the masculine parts that serve women, society, and children. But anything else that benefits the man, we're going to cut that real quick. That's toxic masculinity. That's this, that's horrible things. So they're trying to modify men to fit into this slot because they need the men. They need men producing, and they need men earning, and they need men serving. But we're going to have to modify that. Peaceful life with them, they got too much testosterone. Them dudes right there. Maybe we'll clip one sack, give him one testicle or some shit. Maybe that's what they're going to do. Cut your balls in half and take one testicle and try to reduce that manhood masculinity. Because then imagine if you had leadership and authority and you actually try to take control of the system. That's not going to help with the spending. That's not going to fuel capitalism. With men that are directing their houses and telling women, put that damn credit card down. They don't want that. They want a situation where you are just going to be making money and working your ass off. And you're going to be depositing an account. You're going to spend at will. And you have no control of your house, but also make some babies so we can raise them in a nice, liberally indoctrinated environment. That's really what it comes down to. Population decline. Getting these dudes off the sidelines, marrying these women that have enjoyed a tremendous amount of that good old-fashioned feminism and sexual liberation. I ain't mad at them. I ain't mad at these ladies either. At the end of the day, this is not me having a judgment call. It's me understanding BS when I see it. Nonsense. It's not going to work. Nobody's stupid. They know what you're doing. You're not going to manipulate these young men because, again, men respond to incentives, okay? There is no incentive that the modern woman gives that could compete with peace, freedom, and man's control of his autonomy. These women, many of them, not all of them, were not raised to be any man's wives. They were raised to be men, strong, independent, live life on their own terms, not to listen to men. No matter what money you make, what success you think you have in life. The male lion cannot tame the hyena. You can't put male lions with hyenas. That's the fundamental problem that you have, is that you're looking at hyenas, which is a matriarchal gynocentric system, and you're trying to get men to fit into that system, and you're trying to get them to be maybe 75% male lion. That's not going to work. Anyhow, peace and blessings to you guys. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm out. You goofy ass scammers.